Man, and I just finished this case, and I hate to say this about Anaya Blanchard.
What made you think about getting into law enforcement?
Man, I tell everybody, man, one of my best friends, a roommate at the time back in 1990, was shot here at Tuskegee. I just love Tuskegee. Right. I love the history of Tuskegee. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Thank you for tuning in to Tuskegee Tours. Today I've got an absolutely awesome guest. You have got to take the time to watch this guest. This gentleman has done some great things throughout Tuskegee, Macon County, and we're gonna have a really good conversation. This gentleman has had impact. Tuskegee University football team. If you don't know about TU's football, they have been phenomenal for years. So you just got to know. A Macon County school system, definitely just huge impact. This gentleman is our sheriff, so he is keeping us safe all the time. Great, doing some great things. He is a husband, a father, family man. So Sheriff Brunson, thank you.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the introduction too.
Oh, absolutely. I gotta do my research, but I mean, you taking the time to sit down, and I the purpose of this platform is just to get more information about you.
Okay.
A lot of us, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know. I've got a number of questions. I actually want to start off with Tuskegee University.
Oh,
football.
Man, Tuskegee University, man.
What now? I have been. I think as long as I've been here, you have been involved with the football program.
Yes.
And so I want to know what made you get involved in the football program?
Well, I've been here a long time. I've been in Tuskegee for 40 years. I came here to Tuskegee in 1985 as a freshman on the Tuskegee University football team. And, man, I enjoyed Tuskegee football. We had a great team. We won the 87 championship. Had been, I don't know when the last time they had won it, before 87, but I played with a great bunch of guys under Coach Martin. And we just had a great football team. And I stuck with it. I ended up graduating from Tuskegee University, and just got married and decided to stay. But Tuskegee University has been my focal point here, dealing with my teammates, dealing with the young people, and it's just been my pleasure to do so, and I continue to do that, passing along what I have. After I graduated from Tuskegee University, I became the school resource officer. And then after school resource officer, I got an opportunity to coach Tuskegee University football under Coach Comagee. They asked me to be the strength coach back in 1996. So I'd been the strength coach from 1996 until the year 2021. And then after 21, I became the life coach. So I'm still out there at Tuskegee University dealing with the football team because I enjoy it. Not only being the strength coach, teaching those young men how to be young men, which is very important to me. It's not all about, what's going on with the football team, but it's about life, because after football, after school, you still have to be a man and you have to be a productive citizen. And as you know, a lot of aggression out there playing football. Those young men have different attitudes, and you got to teach those guys how to harness their energy, make it a good thing when you're an aggressive person, because most football players are aggressive people. And you have to harness that energy, and you got to know what you're doing is good for the whole community, the whole state, wherever you are, wherever you go, the whole United States. That energy can affect you, can affect other people, so you want to be able to harness that energy and just be a productive citizen. And that's my thing with those football players. I try to keep them out of trouble and teach them to be men. My job as a strength coach is not just to get them strong, but to harness that energy.
Okay, so it's funny that you say, hey, you got married here. I always say, people ask me why I stayed. I say, yeah, you stay in this area either because of the women or the food. So and I married a small town girl.
Yeah,
so
Well, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about that. I've been coming to Tuskegee since I was probably 5 or 6 years old. Okay. I had two aunts that went to Tuskegee Institute at the time. One graduated in nursing and one graduated in education. So my aunt lived, check this out, live right down the road from my wife here, Courtney. And as a young child coming to Tuskegee, as a young man coming to Tuskegee, my aunt would say, hey, it's 3 pretty little girls down the road. You need to go down there and play with one of those, play with those. They got a nice family down there. And we always joke about that. I would never go down there, but one of those young girls was Courtney.
Okay.
And I met her while I was playing football at Tuskegee University. One of her friends was dating my roommate.
Okay.
And she would always say she's going to introduce me and Courtney. And finally we met, and hey, rest is history. And
Okay.
I got married and decided to stay.
Okay. I'm curious. So life coach.
Yeah.
So what from strength coach to life coach? Tell me what does that entail? Being actually a life coach. What are you doing? What are you putting out there?
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the conversation. Just want to take a little break, and I need you to do a couple of things for me real quick. First, I need you to go ahead and subscribe and like. So like this video, subscribe to the channel. What that does, that helps me bring more information and great interviews and conversations about Tuskegee. That's ultimately the goal. So if you go ahead and like and subscribe, that would definitely help. The next thing is, if you are looking to tour and have an experience of Tuskegee and your organization, maybe you're a school, maybe you're having a family reunion, let Tuskegee Tours handle everything. We organize and facilitate your whole tour. It has been an awesome experience. If you check out the channel, you see other people that have enjoyed the experience, and you can too. If you want to get some information about how we can organize your tour, just look in the description and get some more information, and we'll be happy to give you that information. Other than that, I need you to go ahead and let's get back to the conversation.
So one of the things that happened when the new regime came in, Coach Ruffin came in as the athletic director. They wanted to they brought in a new head coach, brought in a new strength coach and all that stuff. And he called me one day and say, hey, they want a strength coach that's going to be here to do the rest of the sports all day, every day, because I was the sheriff then. Yeah. And my day consisted of getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, going to work these guys out, 5 or 6, 7 in the morning, and then running home, putting on my uniform, coming this job, 5 o'clock in the evening, I go back and work the rest of the guys out. So that was a long day. Yeah. And I wouldn't have time to do baseball, basketball, all those things all day. So I accepted that, and I said, I understand. But he said, hey, you've been such a great guy, great strength coach, we can't let you go. President wouldn't let us fire you, so we're going to give you a chance to be the life coach. And I was like, what would that entail? He was like, hey, if you want to be on the field, you're going to be still part of the coaching staff. But, I mainly want you to fire these kids up. They respect you. We need you in all these different areas. And then as the life coach, you teach them about life. You teach them about what's going on in life, as you always do. You talk to them and just be there for these guys as a mentor. Okay. And so that has worked out well. Okay. That has worked. I definitely enjoy that. Definitely enjoy that.
So law enforcement, what encouraged you? What made you think about getting into law enforcement?
Man, I tell everybody, man, one of my best friends, a roommate at the time back in 1990, was shot here at Tuskegee, over next to the campus. He left home one night saying he was going to a basketball game. I told him I would be there, and ended up watching the basketball game on TV myself, and the next call I got was that he had been shot. And me and my brother were down there, and he was laying in the road, had been killed at a party right next to the university. And that person that shot my buddy, they didn't catch him at the time. It was years before they caught him. But that moment when I watched my buddy die, I said, hey, I'm going into law enforcement. I don't want this to happen to anybody else. I don't want anybody to feel the way that I feel right now with no justice being served. That's what drove me into law enforcement. Okay. And I hold that every day of my life right now. I think about my buddy every day, and not just friends, but if everybody know me, my name is Maurice Andre Brunson. His name was Maurice Andre Miller. I was number 51 on the football team at Tuskegee University. He was number 53 on the football team at Tuskegee University. We both played linebacker, and we just gelled from day one. We were so close, and he was with me all the time. And You know, I see them every day in my life right now. And I say, you know, I know how people feel when you lose a loved one, a brother like he was to me, and that drives me. You know, and when I see parents lose loved ones, when I see brothers lose brothers, it really hits me. You know, I don't want anybody to feel the way I feel, and I hold it every day. And we were friends like brothers, but can you imagine blood brothers, you know, mothers, fathers losing sons and daughters and all the crime and things? I fight for a reason. I fight every day for a reason, and people don't know that.
You know, your experience being on campus and a football player, how has that experience impacted you being in law enforcement?
I think if you look at it, you know, we're all the same, basically alpha males, or basically all the same. We are protectors. Mm-hmm. You know, we're strong protectors who care about people. Most of us are the same, and we talk about that all the time. A lot of your football players and people in aggression sports like that go to the Army, or they become law enforcement, and you can check that stat. A lot of them are like that, and it helps me, you know, being physically fit as an athlete. It helps my mind being sharp, helps me with my confidence, because to be a sheriff, to be an officer, you have to have confidence. You have to look the part, you know, and that helps me being an athlete, being a football player, being a wrestler, being a weightlifter, which I've always been all my life. So I'm still in pretty good shape. My mind is still sharp, and I have a lot of confidence in what I do. You know, as an officer, you know, being scared is a defense mechanism, but being smart and being able and prepared to do this job, you have to be confident in doing this job, and that being an athlete helped me be confident in doing this job.
So you mentioned something about fears, and I guess, you know, maybe some other people might think, like, you know, if you're in law enforcement, y'all got the gun. There should be any fears.
Oh man, there are fears. You know, law enforcement officers have to be on their P's and Q's, but being scared is a defense mechanism. But you can't be so scared that you can't perform. I'm a guy that has been, you know, I was shot at in a store. Guy 3 feet from me shot at me in the store, and as my old sheriff said, that if it wasn't for me, if it was any other officer, then it would probably be dead in that store, because as an officer, one of the things you go through is the training, not to freeze up. You gotta act. You know what I'm saying? If you freeze up, you might end up dead. And we went through that training, and I said I would never ever freeze. You gotta perform, you gotta do the right thing so you can go home to your family. And it's normal to be scared. It's normal to go out there when you go into a shooting, when you're going and they say a body out there, when you go into a drug bust. It's normal to be afraid. Yeah. But you have to overcome that. Right. You know, and that is your defense mechanism, but you have to overcome it. You have to be smart enough, you have to have enough about yourself to still perform in what you do. And I would say that, you know, when I talk to them, and like I was saying earlier, though, I did this class with the young people last week about how to have a traffic stop and things like that. And when that officer pulls up, he might have a little fear. I gave them some instances that happened to us, to not to defend the officer, but let them know what officers go through when they walk up on the traffic stop. Mm-hmm. You know, they showed us in the academy, and I'm sure you can see this every day when officers go to a car. They are really tense. Yeah. You know, their mind wanders. They don't know what they're going to run into. And I saw, and one of the things I said was, I saw an officer get out of his car. He walked over to the passenger side. The driver got out with an automatic weapon, ran around and killed that officer. And it's all on his tape, his body cam, and his car camera. And he was killed, you know, just a plain traffic stop. You know, I've seen officers get out and stop people, 2 or 3 people jump on the officer, kill him, or different things like that. So, yeah, officers are way up here when they do a traffic stop.
Just a basic traffic stop.
Just a basic traffic stop. And people don't understand why this officer is way up here when he stopped you, because he don't know what he's run into. Right. You know, but that's one thing. But when an officer is just a bad officer, he gets out, and that's when we have trouble as black young men. We have trouble when you get a bad officer. You know, when we get an officer who that's racist and just want to flex on our young black men, and we see that all the time. But as young black men, black men and young women, you have to be able to determine. You have to try to talk to them so you can get home safely. And it's unfortunate that we have officers like that, and I don't call those guys officers, but we have to teach our young people how to react when you have bad officers that stop you. And I think one of the things I want to do, and I know one of the things I want to do, is educate our young men and women, even our older people, because it happened to them too, on how to be stopped when a police officer stops you at a traffic stop, because I'm all about saving lives. I'm all about protecting our young people. And I know this interview is not about that, but hey, that's on my heart, and I need to say that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Because I really want to. So the team summit, was that something you were part of? That's something that
the Orchid Club put it on.
Okay.
And they do it every year, and they asked me to come and speak this time, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I really see the need for it. And the Tuskegee Orchid Club, they did a great job. And they do it every year, and I was proud to be a part of that, because I do have something to give to our young people. And as long as they have me coming and doing things and saying about that, I'm going to do, and I think the young people enjoyed it. We had a great turnout, and I felt good giving them this knowledge. And maybe out of all the people that I talked to, maybe if I could save 2, 3, 4, 1, whatever, I think I've done a great job, and maybe they'll pass it on to some more people, because there's a way to be stopped. There's a way to act in society so you can make it home. You know, right now the gun laws are crazy here, man. Yeah. And we have so much trouble with these gun laws, you know, that are designed not to protect us. Yeah. How can you put a gun, and we talked about guns before this,
right? How
can you put a gun in a young man's hand that don't know the safety of the gun, don't know how to use the gun, right? And you put a gun in everybody's hand and you think you're not going to have trouble? Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy. But it makes trouble for the officers too. Yeah. And I tell everybody those gun laws are not safe for us. Yeah. Not at all.
That's probably another conversation, but it definitely should.
It's definitely another conversation. But
you know, they don't just let us get into a vehicle. We have to take a driver's test.
That's right.
So it should be the same for a gun.
Should be the same for a gun.
Know? And that, you know, a car can kill, but a gun, man, I mean, one little slip.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
and as I said earlier, you know, we talk about it. I got to talk about what we're doing here in Macon County. Okay. You know, and why we have some troubles in Macon County. And I did a thing the other day about crimes in Macon County. And one of the things was about the murders in Macon County. And as I said, you know, in the county, I'm not speaking of the city,
right,
but in the county, you know, we have 634 square miles to patrol. And in the last 5 years, there have been about 12 murders. We're averaging about 2 per year, which is not a whole lot, but it's too many for me.
Okay.
You know, and one of the things I talk about, and what I said the other day, was that murders, you know, back in the day when we were coming up, and I've said this before, man, I get in an argument, I say, man, I wish I had my gun, or I'm going to get my gun. So right now, in this day and age, everybody got a gun. So you don't get that cooling off period. When you get into it with somebody, you both got a gun, and then you start shooting. Back in the day, we say, I wish I had my gun, I'm going to get my gun. By the time I go get my gun, I done cooled off. I done calmed down and say that wouldn't be a smart thing.
Probably wouldn't even go get it.
Probably wouldn't even, right. Yeah. You know, then you think about that. But right now, these kids don't have a cooling off period. You know, they don't have, they can't say I'm going to get me because both of them already got a gun. And then it's a warm-blooded murder. They don't have chance to cool off and go think about it. They hot. Okay. And they're gonna use their guns, and I don't like that. We gotta take the guns out of these young people's hands. We gotta have better and stiffer laws and stiffer punishment for having a gun. And if we're going to allow these young people to have a gun, if we're going to allow adults to have a gun, hey, let's train them. Right. Let's train them, not just to come up here and get a pistol permit, because all you got to do is come up here and get a pistol permit. Yeah. You know, or they've made it to where you don't even have to have a permit. But if you're going to do that, let's train the people. Let's teach them how to use and when to use.
Yeah, I think it'll make a huge difference.
It'll make a huge difference.
So I'm gonna flip the script a little bit. So HBCU football.
Yes.
And TU, what do you think the advantage is for someone to actually play football for HBC versus a PWI? You know. So
I tell them right now, what we have to go on is the education. You know, at Tuskegee, you know, you don't have as many students in the classroom. You have a better chance to graduate. It's not all about football, it's about life. You know, when you go to Tuskegee, you can rest assured Tuskegee has a rich tradition. You know, whenever you graduate from Tuskegee, you almost guaranteed to get a good job. They have some, you know, you almost just guaranteed to get a good job, and Tuskegee is known all over the world. So we tell our football players it's about the education. You know, if you're looking for just glamour, you're looking for Tuskegee to pay you money as an athlete, it's not going to happen. You got all these big schools, Auburn over here, they get all the NIL money, you know, their own television, but I can't say that because Tuskegee is on football, on television a whole lot.
Right.
But you at a D1 school, the perks are better. You have better equipment. You have better this. You have better that, and all of that. But you're not going to get the education you get. You're not going to get the brotherhood, the closeness, the struggle, and we always talk about the struggle that we had as a football player at Tuskegee. And man, my teammates from 1985, 1987, you know, we still tight. We struggled together. We won together. We lift weights together. We studied. We did everything together. We passed tests together. And when it was hard for us to eat, we ate together. You know, we all pitched in and did things that made us like brothers. And these guys have it so easy right now, they don't need nobody. When you paying a football player in college $500,000, millions of dollars to be a student, they already riding around in Lamborghinis, BMWs, or whatever. They don't have a struggle like we had, you know. But that brought us closer together, made it a lot better. But being at a black school, you know, I love that I wouldn't pass it up for the world. And I see these guys now the same way, same thing. We all sell each other on the same thing.
Do you think there's HBCU football is still going to be, you know, be competitive? Do you think it's still going to be good compared to all other programs?
I do. You look at Tuskegee right now. Tuskegee is winning in track, softball, baseball. You know, we have a good AD right now, and they're a good president. They're putting money into the athletics. They're doing things to put the team in position to win. And that's everybody wants to win. Everybody have good strength coach. Everybody have this, everybody have that, and everybody want to win, and they'll put more money into the black programs than they did before, and than they ever did before, so we can keep up. And I'm not going to say keep up, but so we can put everybody on a level playing field. And I think as you look at it, you know, last year, you know, Tuskegee football, we've been about 500, because right now we're losing our kids to these big schools because of the money. You know, we get good athletes in here. We get recruits in here, but after they sit down and people see them being successful, they want to lure them out, put them in the portal. You know, back then we didn't have to deal with a portal. You know, they get them in the portal and they lure them away with money. And we have a great quarterback. We have a great running back. We have a great receiver. We have a great DB. And if you look, a lot of them get in the portal because of the money, and they lure them away. And then we back at square one to try to build this football team again, and that's hurting all the black teams. That's hurting all of us.
So it's gonna be some new strategy for the new thing. When it comes to football, so that's going to be interesting.
Yes, it will.
So back to law enforcement.
Okay.
You got years of law enforcement. You know, you've been in law enforcement. What encouraged you to say, you know what, I'm going to bid and I'm going to run for sheriff?
So I guess back in the day, I told you how I felt about law enforcement when my friend got killed. You know, the first person that hired me was the school board. I was the truant officer for 23 years and over security for all the schools in the county. You know, and I took this idea to, well, Sheriff Warren was actually the chief of police at the time, and I asked him about being a police officer, sending me to the academy, and he told me then that he was getting ready to run for sheriff, and if he won, he would bring me aboard, and he did that. He brought me aboard as a deputy sheriff. He sent me to the academy and made me part of his organization here as a deputy sheriff. But my job was to take care of the schools, you know, which I enjoyed doing. You know, I would come here, you know, as a deputy sheriff, taking care of the schools, having all the responsibilities and all the and all the power to deal with the schools, going to every school, dealing with the parents, the kids, also having the arrest powers, which he did me a nice favor by doing that, and I enjoyed that. And then during the summer, or when I was off, I would come exclusive work at the sheriff department. So I did that for 23 years, and it all worked out well. And when the sheriff said that he was going to retire, I said, I'm going to run for sheriff. You know, when I said that, you know, he was going to retire, he came back to me and said that he wanted to stay another 4 years. So I said, okay, I'll wait 4 more years. And I waited the 4 years, and then he said he was going to retire again, but he changed his mind. He came and said that to me, so I waited 8 years. So I think I paid my dues, and I waited my time. I actually waited 8 years before I ran. You know,
really decided
before I decided
you were ready.
I was ready, and I had almost graduated, and it gave me time to prepare. You know what I'm saying? And I like Sheriff Warren. He gave me a time, you know, time to prepare. And I waited 8 years until he actually got up. So I was prepared to be the sheriff, and I won, and the rest is history.
How important is mentorship in what you do as far as law enforcement?
Oh man, it's important. You know, if you look back over my career, mentoring the kids, even, you know, back when I was a truant officer, I invited and had a lot of kids spend the night at my house, you know, so I can watch them, so I can mentor them, and I think giving that part of me helped me a lot in my job. You know, it gave me respect from the kids. You know, I took a lot of kids different places. I got a couple of my kids, and I'm not going to say a name, but one kid that we took in at my house, we took him all over the world, all over the country, lifting weights, and he ended up being a junior national champion weightlifting. You know, and I'm proud of that. You know, and like I said, it's all about making these kids respectful and productive kids in the community, adults in the community. So I like doing stuff like that, and we've had many kids over to the house, you know, camping, just doing all the things, and then mentoring these kids and letting them know what I felt about life and the way I live life. I'm a family man, love my family, you know, love Tuskegee, love my family, love everything about Tuskegee. And I want it to be the way I want it to be, you know, so mentoring is very, very important. And right now, parents call me all the time and want to bring the kids down here so I can talk to them, or want me to come to the house so I can talk to them, and I never give up that opportunity. I never pass that opportunity up. It's all about teaching the kids and being a mentor with them.
I definitely want to ask you about, you know, some of the things that you're proud of in the time. One of the things that I picked up that I admired that I want you to expand on is the horse unit. So yeah, tell us about that.
The
mounted patrol. How did that come about? Why is that important? What made you want to do that?
So that's very important to be the mounted patrol. You know, we got a lot of miles of this Tuskegee forest. And if you look at the history of Tuskegee, and I know since I've been the sheriff, and before I've been the sheriff, I told you earlier, we got like 600 and something square miles. That's a lot of rural area, a lot of woods and that kind of stuff. So a lot of our murders, bodies found in the woods in certain places, we found a lot of bodies in the woods, and just because it's so rural, people, and it's bad to say, but people will murder people, go throw them out in the woods. And you hear that all the time.
I actually, and you know, you can say something, but I hear that, you know, we get, as Macon County, we actually get a bad flack, but you get people that, unfortunately, this homicide happens in another county, somewhere else, that gets dumped here in Macon County.
That happens a whole lot. And besides the bodies being dumped, and it's bad that people commit suicide in the national forest, you know, because it's so secluded. Man, and I just finished this case, and I hate to say this, about Anaya Blanchard. You know, man, that just broke my heart. You know, but we searched for her, we looked for her, we searched for her. I called the horses from the state. I called the dog team, the horses. We had four-wheelers out. We had people walking on foot. We had all this stuff going on, and we still didn't find her. we had another young man that had committed suicide in the national forest. I called for help from everybody. They brought, we did it one day with just us, the dogs, people in the community, four-wheelers, trucks, everything. We didn't find that young man. But his mother and his twin brother were here from upstate somewhere, and we said we wasn't going to stop looking. I called the state who had some horses. They brought the horses one day, and man, it wasn't an hour before those horses found that young man's body. It was summer, and the lady, one of the state people that rode the horse, she was like, look, we are high. You know, the horses smell things. We can smell things better. And she sold me on the horses. And I said, dog, we need to get some horses because we do so much of this work. You know, we search for drugs in the woods. You know, people hear those four-wheelers and hear us coming, they running. You know, so I said, let's try some horses. We use the horses for searching for drugs in the woods. We use the horses for finding people that are lost, not just dead people, people that are lost. Right. And those horses are better than us walking. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Right. And they are so valuable to us. Right. We try to use the horses there. I mean, we have pretty horses. And everybody, and I want to clear this up because I don't take care of all these horses. Okay. The guys that I have on the horse unit have their own horses. They keep them at their house. They pay for their food. They pay for everything. Wow. So they're volunteers, mainly. We have one or two guys that are on the force, but I got guys and I swore them in. They are reserve officers who run the horse patrol. Okay. And we get a lot of publicity for our horses. You know, I'm gonna show you something here. We had somebody even going to Dubai. Dubai sent me this for having the horses. Oh, okay. And they invited all my guys. Okay. You know, they have a very strong horse patrol up there, horse division. Yeah. And they invited all of us to Dubai, pay for everything for however many people I want to go. Yeah. They respect the horses. Yeah. And it's just been nationwide for us. New York, you know, everybody called about those horses and want to help with our horse patrol. So it brought us a lot of publicity. Okay. And I really enjoy it. And they are valuable to us here. You know, a lot of people try to make it a bad thing, but it's a positive thing.
I don't know how, I don't want to get into how it could be bad, but I would even think even the horse versus the four-wheeler, because when you get in the forest, in certain parts of the forest, you can't even take a vehicle.
You can't take a four-wheeler, you can't take anything, but those horses can do it. Yeah. And I say all the time, man, they make me second guess sometime about that, but then I talk about it, I think about it, and talk to the guy. They're like, hey man, we can't stop this horse patrol. They are too valuable to us. You know, too much going on that we can't get to without these horses. Okay. People don't see that. They just say, oh, he feeding horses, he got it. Hey, well, come on, man. Yeah. You know, it's just like feeding the dogs. We have some great dogs, we have great horses, and I think it's more valuable to us to have these horses than not have these horses. And I'm going to keep believing that, and I know when these horses get out and find people, you know, in the woods to help us get to the woods, it's so valuable to those people. And I say again, we lose a lot of people in the woods. A lot of hunters get out there and get hurt, can't get back. A lot of hunters get out there and can't find their way back. We have to call the helicopters. We get the dogs and we go out and find them.
Well, see, I like how you say that, because you know, you think, you know, people might think, you know, a homicide or death, but the aspect of just somebody that just got lost.
Somebody just got lost.
It's a lot of acres of forest.
It's a lot of acres of forest, man. Yeah. And we go out and we search, and those horses are a lot better for us. Yeah. And we don't just put the horses out there. We train with the state. Mm-hmm. You know, a couple years ago, we had this big training to where, you know, the state brought their dogs. We probably bought about 100 officers out here, and we did it here in Macon County out at the county shop. And we did a simulation. We had helicopters, we had patrol cars, and we simulated that two people, I think, had robbed a bank and they had killed somebody. They were very dangerous, and they pulled in, they jumped out and ran, and the dogs had to chase them. We had the helicopters. Of course, the horses found them. You know, we had the horses, and man, it's just nice. And we train with them all the time. Yeah. You know, we train with them all the time. Yeah,
you know, a horse is going to be faster than an officer.
That's right.
And a horse can't, you know, a car getting on sidewalks and going in, you know, little areas. But that horse, so
And you think about that, you know, and the first time we did it was funny. I told my guys, you know, you don't know how your horse going to react because we training the horses just like we training ourselves. Okay. So y'all probably need to get off those horses when that helicopter take off. Oh. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Hey, the next thing I know, a horse came running by us, and the rider wasn't on it. The saddle was hanging halfway off, and the horse was going 100 miles an hour. And I thought he had killed my rider, but my guy came running around the corner chasing the horse. It was kind of funny, but we ended up catching the horse and getting it right again.
Okay.
But people don't know what it goes into training these horses.
Right.
People don't know what it goes into having these horses to where people can walk around them.
Right.
You go to New Orleans, you see it all the time.
Yeah.
You go to Mobile, you see it all the time. You know, it's so many police departments and sheriff departments that have horses, and it's nothing that's out of the ordinary for us to have horses, and it is a benefit, but I don't see how people try to make it a bad thing. But I'm thinking about the community. I'm thinking about the safety of the community. I'm thinking about things that I can do to help this community, and that's one of the things that could help our community and help people that are in need, help people that are lost, people that are hurt, people that need, help. I mean, this is one of the good things, really.
Okay. I'm curious. So me being in Tuskegee, Macon County, we get I guess some negative things when it comes to relationships with other counties.
Yeah.
How important is it to have those relationships with our neighboring counties, Lee County, Bullock County, Elmore, Montgomery?
Yeah, one thing I want to say is, and I was talking about Sheriff Cunningham and what he does, and I can't name all the sheriffs who have helped me. I talk about the surrounding sheriff, Bullock County, and all of those guys, even down at Barber County, but I just can't name all of them. But all the surrounding sheriff, we work together. But I got to say something special to Sheriff Cunningham and Sheriff West right now. Sheriff West has a lot of my inmates, and so does the sheriff in Pike County, while we're struggling here at the jail trying to get it taken care of. But one thing Sheriff Cunningham does, that's the big sheriff here in our state. He's one of the big sheriffs who has a big budget, and everybody know we don't get a whole lot here in Macon County. We are struggling with everything, and that's not nothing bad to say about our county. We just don't have the money floating around to get all the stuff that we need.
Right.
But one of the things the Sheriff Cunningham does, he makes sure that I have cars for my department. I can get his cars at a very cheap price, that's helped me over the years to keep my department running, from armored vehicles. I think I got 2 Hummers from them, an armored car, and I can't even count the cars that I've gotten from them at a cheap price that are really good cars that we use in our community that helps us keep going. One of the main things that a sheriff needs is vehicles to get to his calls, to patrol this county, this area, and cars break down a whole lot when you driving cars every day, all day. They break down.
So covering all of Macon County.
You got to cover, you got to ride, you got to be visible. So I just want to send that shout out to him and the other sheriff that really help me every day. And like I said, Sheriff West, and then our sheriff down in Pike County, who have all our inmates right now, but Shelby County, Mobile County, Jefferson County, all those, Chambers County, that have done their best to help us here. So I just got to say that for everybody. And I hope I didn't miss anybody, but just thank you to all the sheriffs, and House Mac, who's over, the Sheriff Association. I can't forget Bobby Timmons, who passed. Man, he was a great guy with a lot of knowledge, and we learned from these guys. And they make sure everything is great for us. I got to give all those guys a shout out, but they keep us going, and just working together keeps us going, just like we have to do in this county, this community, for the betterment of everybody. And that's what I'm a big believer of, just working together.
Okay. That's, I see that you're saying that it's not, we may think that it's just a Macon County thing, but it's about collaboration.
It's about collaboration. It's about collaboration across the board.
Yeah.
And we can say what we don't have in Macon County, but the sheriff has the ability to call anybody in this state, and we're going to get the help we need. And the sheriff just has to worry about holding on till they get here. So I'm always be prepared to hold on till we get help, but help is on the way. It's always coming, and that's what we do, and that's the relationship we have.
So you're running for the next term. What's your vision for your department? Do you think it's important for a sheriff to have a vision versus, hey, I'm just here to enforce the law?
You got to have a vision.
Okay.
You got to have a vision, and the vision I have is continue to work with these other guys. Continue to one thing that the sheriff always say. The main thing is protect lives. Protect your property, protect lives, and do all those things that are basic in what the sheriff does. But the sheriff has to do more things now. We have to talk about educating our children, educating the parents, educating the community, trying to bring everybody together so we don't have these problems. You know what I'm saying? I found myself, sheriff don't usually buy medical equipment. You know what I'm saying? I bought a big truck, filled it up with medical equipment because we slacking. We don't have ambulance here all the time. We don't. Hey, the fire department does a great job with their paramedics, but they need help. We have to hold on till we get help from everywhere else. And you're dealing with the county, so it's one thing when you're talking about the city of Shorter or the city of Tuskegee that actually have it within the city, but then you got other county areas. Yeah, you got other county areas that need help. So one of the things I did, and I just got some opioid money, and like I always did, I bought AEDs for all my cars. Okay. And all my deputies would have an AED riding around, and right now they've gotten old, so I just purchased some more. Okay. Put AEDs in all the cars, so instead of waiting on the paramedics to get there, we can help somebody in need. Okay. I bought this machine. It cost $8,000, and I'm not ashamed to say, Chief Frazier. If you knew Chief Frazier, man, I like Chief Frazier, man. One of the best guys I knew. Chief Frazier died from a heart attack, and he waited. Man, it took the ambulance maybe an hour to get there, and he passed, and that hurt me so bad. So what I did, I went and bought this thing that I saw on the ambulance service that pumps your heart for you. It pumps without a person doing it. Okay. It pumps your heart.
Kind of like a CPR kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I purchased that for that reason only, and I got it on my truck ready to help anybody that needs help. Okay. That's how strongly I feel about, helping people in the community. I don't have no money like that, but I found that money, and I buy stuff all the time. I just bought, hey, here's one of the things right here that I'm going to show you. I'm putting all of these in my deputy's car. I just purchased these. Okay. And what it does, if somebody's choking, baby, adult, anybody, you put this on them, and you can prevent them from choking. Whatever goes in has to come out with this pump. Okay. And this is something new. I bought them for every car that I have. Okay. And we put them in every car. So if somebody choking anywhere, you can stop a deputy, and this will certainly save their life. Okay. And they got one in here for an adult and one for a child.
So Macon County, we're beyond just law enforcement.
Yeah, we're beyond just law enforcement. Okay. You have to think beyond that. You have to think outside the box. Okay. And it's something I've always done. And from the first day that I ran for office back in 2014, I talked about the EMT deputies. That was one of my main things. I wanted to put EMT deputies, make them EMTs, and have them riding around.
Are there counties that are doing that?
You think about 12 years ago when I thought about it, I didn't see anybody doing it 12 years ago, but now, yes, there are counties doing that now. And I had never heard of that before, but it's being done. Yeah, it makes sense. So the hard part is fine, and I got a guy from the fire department comes down here every day. Talibou, he works part-time. He's I swore him in as a deputy. He comes down here. He helps in the jail. He rides around at night. He has my vehicle with all the equipment in it. Yeah. Straight boards, life-saving equipment. Yeah. And he is an EMT. He's a fireman. Yeah. Man, that helps this community an awful lot. I had another guy that's doing the same thing, but he went on off to school, and hopefully he'll be back soon. And they ride around in vehicles with all this life-saving equipment in the car. People don't know that, but we get there. Usually the deputies are there faster than anybody else anyway, so we can start CPR.
You'll beat EMS, you'll beat the paramedics.
Paramedics there, right. We can start CPR, we can do basic stuff to try to keep them alive till somebody else gets there, till the real people get there. Yeah. And those are dreams that I had, just to save lives and help people. Okay. You look at the trying times right now, you think about all the stuff as a sheriff that I have been through, that I have to overcome. You talk about the Dadeville murders. We were highly into that. You talk about what happened at Tuskegee University. You talk about this Anaya Blanchard thing. You know, I've stood up through all of that, and there's so many more things. You know, standing up when guns are so easily got right now, man, that makes it difficult for a law enforcement officer. The laws make it difficult for a law enforcement officer. You know, one of the things we're going through right now, and people don't even think about it. Man, you talk about what's going on with this mental illness. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying anything bad about mentally ill people, because all of us just short of being mentally ill, just a peel away. And so what I know is we have to get these people medicine. We have to make sure they're on their medicine. We have to get them stabilized. And like I say, I'm not saying anything bad, because all of us is just a peel away. You know what I'm saying? So, but when they took away the hospitals, when they took about that stuff, guess where it falls on? It falls on law enforcement. Law enforcement are taking all these people. We don't have the medical knowledge to deal with them. So we have to get them here until we can get somebody to stabilize them, or get them to somewhere to be stabilized. And we have to care about what happens to these mentally ill people. We have to care about them, because it's not their fault. You know what I'm saying? And nobody knows, and people don't think about the sheriff having to deal with that every day with nothing to deal with them with. You know, Judge Cooper does a great job, probate judge. You know, I can call him. He sends his people out. You know, Tammy and them come out, and they look at him, you know, and we try to find somewhere for them. But if they don't find nowhere for them, guess what? They here. You know, we stuck with them until we can get them somewhere to get them stabilized. And I say again, most of the time, all they need is their medicine. And people don't like taking their medicine because it slows them down. And when you don't take your medicine and you're out there in the community, a lot of times these guys are committing crimes, or they difficult for the community to deal with. And that's everywhere. The state got to do something about getting us somewhere and dealing with the mentally ill people. That's big on us. That's big on the sheriffs. That's big on law enforcement. And I say again, I'm not saying anything bad about the mentally ill. There are people just like us that just need a little help. And normally with a little medication, they get the help. And I care about those people a lot. I bring them here and try to take care of them. But it's hard when you don't have any help and you got very few resources to deal with people. So that's big in our community. People need to know that's going on a lot. That's going on a lot.
It's definitely a topic that's been coming up. So I'm gonna flip the script and close out. So what I may put you on the spot, may not. You may know at the top of your head. So this is the Tuskegee Tours podcast, and so one of the things that I always ask my guests, we've got a number of sites that people can come visit. So you know, I always ask, hey, if you would tell somebody that's visiting Tuskegee, what would be your top or your top two places that they need to visit if they come visit Tuskegee? Your favorite place?
That's hard, because there's so many places. Man, there's so many places in Tuskegee that I can talk about. I love, because I just love Tuskegee. I love the history of Tuskegee. You know what I'm saying? And it's just so many here. But you know, I love going to the airport. I love going to the museum here in town. I love going to Tuskegee University, the whole university. I love going to the airport, the old airport out on 56. And I just learned a new one, the Kennedy Airport down on 29. I went out there, man. That was so much fun. That was great. Coming to the square. All of these places are just great places here in Tuskegee, and I love them all. And all of them have great people that work at them, and have people that's knowledgeable about what has going on in Macon County. And what people don't know, I live out on 199 on the Eufaulpy Creek. And on the Eufaulpy Creek, there was so much that supposedly happened out there. You know, I'm told, if you remember Mr. Johnson, who used to be a historian here.
Jimmy. Yes, sir.
Man, Jimmy told me a story.
He mentored me,
Jimmy told me a story about the Eufaulpy Creek down there in 199, specifically my property where I live. You know, he talked about the chief of the Seminoles that lived on that creek, and he moved from here and went to Florida. You know, and man, there's so much history out there on 199. The battle was fought out there on 199, partly on my property.
Yeah.
I had guys coming out there getting artifacts, stealing artifacts and things like that. So I'm thinking that Jimmy is telling the truth about that. And man, just the whole, I mean, I can say his name, Chief Osceola was supposed to be out there, you know, and he supposedly buried a medallion out there somewhere. And I had these guys that I had to run off my property all the time looking, you know, and I had to keep them off my property. But people listen to those stories, and we know it's history all over Tuskegee, all over Macon County. So, I mean, just everywhere you go.
So you saying, you know what, you need to come to Tuskegee and explore everything.
You got to explore everything.
Okay. If there's a last thing that you just kind of want to put out there, that you just want to share with the community, you know, what would that be?
So I mean, I mentioned everything except the new Hello Park with Lionel Richie, man. That's a great thing, great place over there, and I think he did a great job with the community and for the community by having that park over there. It's a beautiful place, you know, and I enjoy sitting out there and going out there sometime, me and my wife. So I want to just say, man, Tuskegee is a beautiful place. You know, I love Tuskegee. I love working here at Tuskegee, and my job is all about the people. We talked about what I do, but it's not all about promising people what I'm gonna do. It's about the actions that I have toward the people and what I do for the people every night. You know, it really takes a special person to be the sheriff. You know, it really does. You got to have a lot of patience. You got to have thick skins, because you got to listen to all the whatever people say and still be willing to give your life for those people. And that's tough. You know, I mean, I love my family, love my wife, my kids, my grandkids, you know, everybody, my mother. I mean, we got a nice family. I enjoy my family, love my family, but I have to leave them a lot to take care of this county and this community. And you can't never make that a bad thing. You can never joke about that. You can't never joke about the sheriff putting his life on the line. You can't never joke about the experience the sheriff has in this position. And we're not being political here. I'm just telling the truth about that. You know, you got to have a certain heart to do this, and you got to be able to take a whole lot. And that's what this job is about. It's about getting the job done. So I'm all about that, but love my community, love all the people here, and respect all the people here. And I appreciate you, man. You go way back, man.
Yeah, we do. But
you Sheriff,
you know, I really appreciate you sitting down. I probably got a ton of more questions, so we definitely have to do another interview.
So we'll do that, and I enjoy doing it.
I really appreciate it. And then, you know, we could probably talk about some stuff. I think you already do some updates when it comes to that, but we could talk about that. But I really appreciate it.
Anytime, my brother. Always willing to talk to you. Like I said, we go back a long way.
Yes, sir.
Been knowing you a long time,
yes,
brother.
Sir. Yes,
and
sir.
It's all been good, man.
So,
and I appreciate you doing what you doing.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So you heard it here, Sheriff, just doing some great stuff. We're gonna come back soon. So he's already said we're gonna talk soon. But
we'll talk soon.
Check it out. So appreciate it, Sheriff.